Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel for more interesting stories like these. Now, let's get into today's story video. My 26 male, wife 27 female, cheated but my family are taking her side and making things harder for me. Please accept my apologies if this has become too long. I endeavored to write about events that happened to me over the course of 3 months, and since I am not fluent in English, there are a significant number of faults in the final test product. We almost grew up together. Our parents were excellent friends, and we lived in the same building as one another. In my childhood, I despised her for being consistently better than me, and I felt she received more attention from my parents than I did. They only hosted a celebration for her since she was ranked second in the country, whereas I was only in the top 50, despite the fact that we were both accepted to the premier institution in our country. But she was the one who cared about me more than anybody else. She confessed to me when I was 17 years old, and we were married when I was 23 years old. It was 3 years ago today. My wife and I had a lovely marriage up until 3 months ago, when I arrived home and took a moment to smoke a cigarette before entering the house. When I opened the door, I could hear my wife's voice coming through the window. When I approached her to talk with her, I overheard her make a statement that I found amusing. This should be brought to a close. It is not right. Dan is one of my favorites, what she called me. Please do not contact me in the future. I had the sensation that I was about to puke in my stomach. I was in a bad mood at the time, but after a few seconds, I was able to relax and enter inside the room. When I was with her, I kept my mouth shut. I was striving to convince myself that maybe I had made a misunderstanding. My wife afterwards left the house to attend a fitness class. She never takes her phone to the gym with her. Instead, she leaves it at home. After a few minutes of wrangling with her, I decided to check her phone. I can open it with my fingerprints. It was her decision to add my fingerprints, so I can use them in case of emergency. I found the conversations to be extremely rapid. They'd only been talking for a month before I arrived. I was expecting that she had already deleted anything about him, but well, it was all there. Since of what I learned from the talks, I realized they had met at a school gathering party, and because he was a model, my wife had asked him some questions about photos, and they later had a meeting that I was not aware of. Following that, they developed a stronger bond and went on a second date. On that particular occasion, he kissed her, and the two of them spoke about it afterwards. It had been 2 days since the last incident. I had enough of it, and I was done. I slid the book off the table. I penned a letter I'm seeking for a divorce at this time. What were you thinking when you did that to me? Put the paper on top of the phone while the discussion was still going on, and then walked out of the house. As soon as I got off the phone, I got in my car and went to my parents' house. When I awoke the next morning, she was still there, and I instantly realized that my parents had become concerned about us and wanted to help us. They proceeded by emphasizing that married couples are prone to disagreements and that we should work through these difficulties together. After a long day of work, I was fatigued and irritated, and when my father repeated almost the same thing again, I said, "She cheated on me." When I realized she had cheated on me, I burst into tears. After leaving the home, I went to my parents' house for a while. Though I had hoped that my parents would come down on my side and cease worrying about me, the next day she called and said, she explained everything to me. She's sincerely sorry. It's not that bad. She didn't have any deep connections with him. We should be forgiving. I was in desperate need of assistance. "No, I'm looking for a divorce," I said, and she reiterated her point of view. Furthermore, she said that I was exaggerating my concerns, that it had been an honest mistake, and that they had despite only having met twice. I hung up the phone after a few rings. My father told me that he would only allow me in with my wife and then closed the door behind me when I went to my parents' home a few days later to chat with them about selling the house after the divorce. It was the second most heartbreaking moment of my life, after the news that my wife had cheated on me with another man. Despite the fact that it has been 3 months, my parents have not yet allowed me to enter their house, despite my repeated requests to do so. Due to her refusal to sign the divorce papers, we were still legally married, and in my country, if one spouse refuses to seek a divorce, the process may take a long time and involves 3 sessions with a therapist before it can be completed. And she's been following me around, weeping and begging me to give her another chance. Seeing her in this situation makes me extremely sad since she was one of my favorite people. But I can't forgive her, I can't put my faith in her, and I can't seem to get my mind off the fact that she lied to me about our relationship. I have absolutely no clue what I want to do with my life, how to deal with my parents, or even how to persuade Mom to stop smoking. Update: because things are getting closer to completion and I'm in a better position, I've decided to provide an update on the site. I reflected on a number of the comments, especially those that were directed towards my parents. We received a message from her and sent it to one of our friends around 20 days ago. If I met her and listened to her comments, she said she'd sign the forms. I didn't communicate with her since I was using a new SIM card and didn't check my social media applications. We eventually got to meet. It was, to put it mildly, uncomfortable to see. Hesitant at first to say anything, or even if she wanted to say anything at all, but she eventually expressed herself and her feelings. She insisted that they had no physical contact and that it was just one kiss, to which I responded that I didn't care and that I didn't care anyway. She had betrayed my confidence, and that was the end of it. Moreover, there are other terms she begged for a second chance, and I told her that even if I give you another chance, I won't be able to treat you the same, and that is something I don't want to do. She sobbed, and I couldn't keep it together. I asked her to sign the papers with my attorney, which she duly did, and then I escorted her to her car, where she exclaimed, "I'm going to drive. Please accept my apologies. I'm not sure what motivated me to do it. I was nuts, but I still adore you more than anything else in the whole world. I wanted to tell you that if you really cared about me, you would not have done this, but I refrained myself from saying anything. I can't deny that I'm still attached to her in some way. I didn't want to add any more dismal elements to the finale. I chatted with my parents on multiple occasions, and my mother's condition gradually improved. However, when I notified my father about her signing the papers, he said that she would be removed from the inheritance and that everything would be given to my sister, and I stated that I didn't care. But not because I don't care about money, but I have more than enough of my own, and my sister despises my parents more than anybody else, so I am certain that she would not accept any of their money. Due to her orientation, she was completely unsuitable for my parents, who suffered much before she left, and were eventually forced to accept her after many years of battle. She is now married with 2 daughters. I'm sure she'd just come once a year at most. So, although I'm talking with my mother, my connection with my father is non-existent until he recognizes this truth, and this time I want him to declare he would support me going forward, and that he made a mistake in the past. I didn't want this to spread because of my personal reputation, which is essential in this situation, but it did. My buddy phoned me about a week ago, stating he was aware of the situation and was very sorry. The male manager works for his firm, and he has previously spoken with him and said that he would not take any other job. It's a tiny business, and he'll do all he can to avoid being accepted by other agencies. You may argue that it won't make you feel any better and that it's immoral, but what did he do? A few days later, the person returned to my office to apologize, which was apparent due to his work, but I refused. After a time, he became upset, furious, or whatever, and began disparaging me and my ex-wife. I hit him in the face, and the guards hauled him out. He won't be able to sue me because if he does and I tell the police about his connection with my ex-wife, he'll be in huge trouble. In our nation, it is considered a major crime with severe penalties. I don't want to seem to be proper in what I did. I know it was wrong, but at least I won't be thinking about why I didn't sue or otherwise punish him any longer. Please accept my apologies for the length of this post. I was really thinking about them again while writing, and it was undoubtedly one of the most difficult and heartbreaking periods of my life. Thank you for taking the time to read my story.